Let's talk about anonymous classes. Alright, we find ourselves back in Hytale once more, and in this video, we're talking about anonymous classes. So an anonymous class, you will find that this is more straightforward than you might think. We are back at our petting zoo right here, yes. So we're back at the abstract and interface lecture, so to speak, where we had the petable interface over here, as well as the abstract class animal. And here now the question comes, okay, what is an anonymous class? An anonymous class is a class that we sort of basically inline create and implement. What does that mean, right? So it means the following. Before we had petable nano, and that was a cat. What if we were to say petable Luke equal to a new, and now here goes the crazy thing. You can see it actually suggests this to us, new petable. Now you might say, what does that even mean? Well, we can make a new petable interface, then do curly brackets over here, and as long as within the curly brackets, we override the one method that we need to override, which is the pet method, we've created an anonymous class. Because this is the class that implements the petable interface without a name. That's why it is an anonymous class. Now, here we can, for example, say, let's just do something crazy like Luke looks weird at you because he's a human. I don't know, okay? Listen, I'm making this up as I go along, okay? But let's just say, and now, obviously, we can put, this is, might be a little bit crazy, but we can put Luke over here into our petting zoo because, well, you know, in this case, Luke is a petable, so there you go. And if we were to run this now, let's just hope that we get Luke over here. We did not, let's do this again. And it did not work, and maybe one more time. No, please, random. Oh, 3 times in a row. Let's go. Right. So basically, there you go. Luke looks at you weird because he's a human. Well, okay. Yikes. But yeah, that's the essence of an anonymous class. The idea here is that you either implement a certain interface, or it can also work with an abstract class, right? So we can make a, let's say we are making an animal, and this animal is called July, and this is a new animal right here, and you can see it suggests this to us. And if I were to autocomplete this, you can see the only thing that the animal really required, well, the animal also now requires actually a name and a couple of things like that, right? So we need Julie.png, July, and then the age over here, maybe 100, maybe it's a tortoise, right? And then the move, we just need to implement a move method. The only thing, remember, we go back to the animal over here. The only thing that makes the animal abstract in that sense is just that it doesn't have a move method implemented. And that's the only thing that it requires for each of the animals to implement. Some sort of move method, right? And then it does something. So here, for example, we can say this.name, and you can see get name. We can use the get name over here because as long as we're within this particular curly bracket and this curly bracket, that means we're inside of a new animal class, right? We're inside of a anonymous class that extends from the animal class. That's all that there is to it. So get name over here, crawls slowly, let's say. There you go, right? And then we can literally say July dot, display information. Now, what is this going to do? Well, I mean, how do we implement that in the animal over here? Well, we print out the name, the age, and the picture. So that's totally fine. It can do that. And then we can say July move. Of course we can, because it's an animal. And we know every animal, if a class extends from animal, it has the move method implemented. So if we were to do this, we can see July is 100 years old, July, and July crawls slowly. So that's an anonymous class. You may or may not now see why we even need this, why we want this, why this is a thing. We will see something like this sort of a couple of times in Minecraft modding, in Hytale modding. I have no idea whether or not this is going to be a thing, but whether or not you would use it yourself, what's really important is that you have seen how it looks like, because someone else might use it, and now you're like, okay, I've seen this. This is an anonymous class in this case. It is an abstract or an interface that is implemented sort of in line. Now, you can do the same thing, by the way, with non-abstract classes theoretically, right? Like the bird over here. If I just put in the curly bracket right here, now I've made theoretically a new class that extends from the bird class. Now, this doesn't do anything to, like, in this instance, right? It literally doesn't, it's just another class basically. But so it really is mostly interesting once you're overriding something, right? So here I could, for example, now override the move method for specifically Yoshi, right? Just for the sake of argument. And I could then say, well, this is now actually going to be this.getAName is going to be soars through the skies. Let's just say for the sake of argument over here. So instead of the normal bird that just a bird is flying, we now say that the Yoshi here over here is a different class, an anonymous class that soars through the sky. So if I were to get birdie.move and if I get Yoshi.move, what we would find is that Birdie is just going to have bird is flying, whereas Yoshi is going to use the newest method, so to speak, via polymorphism. So we're going to do this, and you see bird is flying, and here Yoshi soars through the skies. So that's anonymous classes for you. Can sometimes be really useful if you want to override one certain method for one particular thing. I've rarely seen this used in a lot of different ways. Like I said, sometimes it can be quite useful for Minecraft modding if you are making new items and such, and you only want to change like one tiny thing. Then there's a space for anonymous classes in this case. But that's pretty much it, right? I just wanted you to have seen this, how it looks like, how it works, and then, you know, if you ever encounter it in the wild, so to speak, then you at least know what that is. And if someone asks you to make an anonymous class, you roughly know where to look and what to do. There you go. That's going to be it for this video right here. I hope you found this useful and you learned something new. And I'll see you all in the next video. So, yeah.